welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. And it's great to be here in the gallery here at the Silk Purse Arts Center in West Vancouver. And here in West Vancouver, we are so incredibly grateful to be here as guests, and we feel very honored to be here on the unceded territories of the Squamish and the Musqueam peoples. And it's important that we go beyond just acknowledging that and actively honoring that, and being a part of making sure that these lands are maintained and stay beautiful and welcome and open for everyone, especially since the majority of us here are guests on these lands.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking from Surrey, which is the traditional lands of the Kwantlen, Katsi, and Semiahmoo First Nations. And I completely agree with you. Obviously, my work, as we'll talk about, is honoring a lineage and a history and a personal tradition. So in line with First Nations, I mean, we want to honor that as well.
Totally, yeah. Excellent, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And actually, anyone watching, wherever you are, you can look up whatever lands you are on. There was a website that was really great, and you can just type in your city, and maybe I'll put it in the comments when the video stops being.
Yeah, it's always great to know. Actually, we did this exercise in one of my classes, and just from all around the world, you can find out.
Yeah.
The traditional lands, which is so awesome.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's a much more enriching experience when you realize where you are and all the history that's happened where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, that's a little bit about what this exhibition here is tonight, and what we're here to celebrate. So this is the opening of a beautiful show, which you can see some of it behind me here. It is an exhibition entitled Sovereign Elevations, and it is by a incredibly talented artist, Kiranjot Kaur, and we are so happy to have you here and have your work in our humble little gallery. So thank you for being a part of this exhibition, for having this exhibition, for proposing this exhibition.
And thank you. This is really exciting for me. It's my first solo show, and I've been doing art for pretty much as long as I've been alive, but it's really nice to come up with something that you feel like is important, and then have a community organization also recognize that it's important. So I just, having it in a public art gallery, it just means so much. And yeah, so I'm really excited. So thank you to you guys.
Oh, we're so happy. When this proposal came in, it was just like the jury. We have a jury process as how we determine our exhibitions every year. You have to apply and submit a proposal with some examples of your work. And the jury was like, ding, 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 yes.
Yay!
It was one of the big hits. Yeah, so thank you for mentioning a little bit about yourself. That's fantastic. And we'll get a little bit more into your background, I'm sure, as we go on. But let's start with the title of the exhibit, because it's a really great title, and there's a couple of different layers in there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So as Stephen mentioned, it's called Sovereign Elevations. And it really comes from, the title really comes from the different components that came together to create the exhibit. So I was first I'll just talk about the inspiration, and then you'll kind of hear these terms come out through my description. So in terms of the inspiration, I mean, if you're watching this and you see the images in the back, you're probably thinking, oh, it looks like a turban. So yeah, so in Sikh culture, a turban, as it's called, is called a dastaar. And growing up in BC, seeing in my community and also in my family growing up, I saw so many dastaars, and I was just in admiration of so many aspects of them. Their colors, countless colors, bright, bold, subdued, different styles, as you can see through the show. Just the beauty of them, in particular female dastaars, I've always thought they're so beautiful. And then also an important aspect of it is the effort that the wearer takes as part of their daily tradition to actually tie a dastaar. So it's actually tied on every day by the wearer. And that was something that I thought was valuable. So it's something I wanted to look at, something I wanted to explore, but more importantly, something I wanted to celebrate. And in terms of what I know about the history, so I'm not I'm not up and up on the history, but from what I do know, the history of this thought is that it was once worn by kings and upperclassmen in India, in northern India, and the Sikh gurus, they began tying turbans or dastars in order to assert their own sovereignty. So it wasn't just them, it was their followers and the masses. So in this action, in this movement, they were elevated. So there's that first time that word comes up, is sort of elevating the masses. And it is a sign of sovereignty, like a personal sovereignty. And that's really an interesting concept because we live in, we come from, most of the history we learn is maybe European history growing up here in Canada. And you hear about monarchs. And then you're like, oh, then there's this cool idea of democracy. And it's like, well, actually, different cultures around the world had similar concepts. They weren't the first ones to come up with it. And the concept of a personal sovereignty is really, really key from my perspective, in terms of coming from a Sikh background. So that's sort of some of the concepts. And then I also come from a background in civil engineering. So I'm a structural engineer. I'm currently a PhD student in earthquake engineering at UBC. So that's my other life, like I like to say. And in engineering, as most people are familiar with blueprints or drawings or architecture, elevation drawings are used to depict the built environment through perspectives or viewing angles. So you'll have, if you're looking at plans for a house, you'll have a front view and a side view and a back view. And from those drawings, you can visualize what the house looks like. And there's also kind of instructions for how it's made. So for me, coming from an engineering background, something that I admired looking at these dastars, I was able to take the three-dimensional object and kind of think of it in terms of front view, back view, side view, and that's how I saw it. So it's kind of like how if you'd say like average person looking at clouds would be like, oh yeah, they're gray, they're white, but they're mostly gray. And if you ask an artist what color are the clouds, they'll say, oh well, they're purple and pink and red and blue. You see all these different colors. So in the same way, looking at the world around us and things that I find inspirational from an engineering lens just creates another level of how, so you've got the artistic lens and the engineering lens. And so that sort of explains the words, the sovereign and then elevations.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure.
And your background as an engineer is very interesting. You talked a little bit about that, about having to render, your designs and 3D objects and stuff. How has that influenced your artistic career, do you think?
Yeah, I think so when I started with painting, for example, so I've always drawn. When I started with painting, probably 12, 15 years ago, I don't know who's counting, I was doing a lot of oil painting. So that's realism. So it's sort of, it's like a classical type of painting. For those of you who don't know, you take an image or something you see and you try to render it in exactly what it looks like, kind of like a photograph, but you're actually doing it with skill. So that was a really nice opportunity, nice phase for me to really hone in on my skills. And I think it was really in line with engineering because it's, your straight lines and calculations and mathematical. And I always enjoyed drawing perspective drawings. That was always a big part. And so it's good for that. And then I think just life experience, growing up, you start to become more comfortable in your own shell. I know that's it's a cliche. However, I think with everything that we've seen in 2020, for example, we've all maybe thought about reflecting on our own histories and our own, say, influences and being more honest with ourselves. And for me, 2020 helped, of course, but through the new type of artwork I'm doing, I'm really trying to focus on identifying the influences that I have that are unique to me. So it could be an engineering background. It could be, I grew up in a family fabric store. It could be, my culture, my religion. It could be any of those things. And instead of, oh yeah, that's something from home, it's sort of like, well, actually, I have something to say about it. There's actually something that we can do with this. So it's sort of grown from there.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's awesome. Yeah, everything is an influence on us, and everything, and being able to speak about those influences is really important, because not everyone necessarily has that in them, to bring that up, to bring up all of these things that have made them who they are, and to express it through artwork. So it's really great to be able to see someone do that and have something to say, and feel that confidence and bravery to say it. I don't know if maybe art is that for you, is your way to get there, to get to that. But it really shows that there's something to say when you come in and see this exhibit.
Yeah, it's definitely one way that you're kind of in control as the artist, whereas in other careers, because I know I have other careers, I know that it's challenging to accomplishing challenging things is really rewarding. And as an artist, being able to express something in a way that other people, it's not just they understand what you're saying, it's that they can understand what they feel about something, which I think is so interesting about art. That's been wonderful. And I think also, I mean, I consider myself privileged. Like, I've come from privilege. I've been very fortunate, really supportive family, ability to go to school, ability to accomplish things in school. And I just feel like, okay, well, what do I do with that privilege? So it's, you go as far as you can, you get there, you can see further. So I'm on that boat, and I'm just really happy to share anything that I can discover about myself that someone may relate to, someone may not. And then with this show, it's also about representation. And so it's sort of, we talk about, and you and I were talking about this when we met, we were just saying that, representation matters, and of course it matters. And I use that term all the time. I do illustrations for children, and they have, I'm always trying to show representation. But I think also importantly, representation is here. So I mean, we've got this show, there's so many artists out there doing great things, and it's a really exciting time to be able to say what you want, have people be excited about it, and move forward. It really helps us grow.
Oh, definitely, 100%. Yeah, just speaking about people interacting with work. There's a couple more comments coming in.
Yay.
The cat says, "Congratulations." Cat with a K.
Thank you.
That means something.
I don't know.
And I'm sorry for anyone if I mispronounce any names, but internet names are always all over the place. You don't know how to say half of them. There's numbers, there's letters you're not used to. Yeah. So Paul Colby LOL says, "Love from Jacob, Mel, and Sadie."
Oh, very exciting. Thank you.
And Chanpreet Sahota says, "Very excited to hear about your exhibition! Exclamation mark."
Yay.
That's great. Yeah. So if anyone throughout this evening, if you want to say something or you have a question for our talented artist, yeah, you can just pop it in there in your chat. Awesome. Yeah. So representation, you brought up representation, and this is an interesting exhibit because there are portraits of the dastaars, but not the people wearing them. Like the image, like if you can see behind me, there's no faces, there's no heads. It's just these wonderful, beautiful, colorful portraits of what's being worn on the head. How does that relate to being a portrait and being representative of your subjects? Because these are all actual dastaars that people have worn, correct?
Yes, that's right. So they're all people I know, and people in my community. And when I was developing this project, I'd be like, "Oh, I really like your dastaar. Can I take a photo of it? And would you be interested in being part of my project?" So I'm assuming that some of the people watching, their dastaars are represented here. And to me, so the three things coming together was the art and reverence for the history and the tradition, and then the engineering side, and it came together to create this artistic rendering, which is, in my opinion, are actually portraits of the subjects themselves. So if you look at one of them, and if you've seen the person who wears it, you, I think, would automatically be able to say, that's so-and-so, or that's so-and-so, or that's so-and-so. And I think that that's a really important component of portraits. So we think about classic portraiture and Renaissance paintings, and it was about getting all the details, you know, showing everything exactly as it was. And then we moved into more contemporary times, and contemporary portraits are maybe more about what makes a person recognizable. So maybe they're focusing on a particular feature or the essence of someone or what they're doing or something like that. And now with this, it's sort of my proposal to anyone who comes to view the show is that these are also portraits of their subjects. So it's I feel really strongly about it. It's also just, you know, the fact that it's so recognizable. It's sort of like it goes against anyone who says like, oh, they all look the same. And that's actually one of the, so I've taken some of the drawings and reproduced a digital art print that's available at the show. And it's showing 3 different dastars, front, side, and back view, and it's put together, and it's saying, no, they are not all the same. So some of the artwork, if you go and see the show, the titles are the titles are a little bit cheeky, and they're all inspired, and they weren't concocted or anything. They're just kind of what I felt like, and you sort of start to realize, like, okay, this is how I feel about this. So yeah, so my presentation to the public is that these are portraits.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and it's true. I'm sitting here amongst all of them, and every single one is different. There's definitely a unique perspective and personality to each piece. And speaking of them, because I know you haven't had a chance to come down because the show just opened today. So we took a little video taking a little tour of the exhibit. So I think maybe you can share that with everyone right now, so you can get like a little sample of what it would be like to come on down and see it. So
yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Just gonna get that in a minute. Technology.
Yeah, of course.
Getting it all set up.
And just to mention also that, yes, there are COVID guidelines for visiting the gallery, but that you can actually visit it in person as well.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So here it is. So as you come in off the waterfront, you're welcomed by some materials about our talented artist and her inspirations and artist statement. And you get those awesome prints that you were just talking about. And one of the sculptural pieces, which people talked a lot about those 2 pieces.
Okay, they're actually from my own head. So,
oh, great.
Yes. So part of the project was I actually tried to tie the stars on my own head. It's hard for anyone who's asking. It's really hard. My husband had to help me a lot.
Yeah.
And it was just a really nice experience to sort of try. And some of those are called trials. So they're
okay. And then moves from those beautiful colored pieces to another sculptural piece. It's kind of a weird path we've had to take it because we have an exit on the other side. So we tried not to make a loop for everyone for COVID reasons. So the other half of these wonderful colored portraits on wood panel over here. You can see, as you're talking about the elevated drawings or elevated illustrations, everything's in that box, and you've got all the little information down in the corner.
Yeah, so that's what we call a title box. And you usually just have some basic information about the drawing on there. And you'll see NTS, which is not to scale. So they are not to scale. However, as an artist, I'm able to draw it so that it looks very much like the original.
And and then move into these really fantastic black and white ink portraits.
Yeah, so that's sort of like a more traditional drawing. You don't get the depth that you get on the paintings. The paintings have a little bit of 3D gloss on them to give it a little bit of a popping out effect, but the drawings are flat. But you really get to admire, in my opinion anyway, the structure of the dastaar a little bit more. So where the fold lines are actually lines, so it's more almost construction. Yeah, just admiring the construction of it.
Yeah.
This one's one of my favorites. This is my hairline. And for those of you who wonder what's under the dastaar, it's just a top knot.
That's great. That was a great piece. That was everyone who came in today commented on that as well.
Yeah, so it's called Fear Not, It's a Top Knot.
And then the final pieces are these three marker pieces.
Yeah, so these are illustrations, just to kind of provide a little bit of context, and they're mostly for people who wear the dastaar I'm hoping will really relate to them, but they're kind of fun just for other people to see as well. So they're just related to the dastaar tying. So these are called salais, and you use it to kind of tuck your hair into the dastaar. And then there's another one that shows kind of preparation of the fabric. So it usually comes a little bit, yeah, I mean, I can talk about that one too. So this is typically when you tie the dastaar, it's a cotton fabric. It's a bit of a loose weave, and people have their own preferences. But to get it to wrap around, if you can imagine using maybe like masking tape to wrap around something, you'd end up getting all these edges and it would be all crinkled. And of course, the dastaars don't look like that. So what they actually do is create a bias on the fabric. And that's done by kind of pulling it on an angle. And some of them are sewn on angles. There's different ways of doing it. And a lot of times you get someone to help you. So they'll hold the fabric, kind of like you'd hold a sheet as if you're folding it. And they're varying lengths. So for example, my husband's is about 6 meters. So that's pretty far. Yeah. So, I mean, you could potentially stand on the other side of a room, and you pull it on an angle. So there's some other artists have done cute drawings of like couples, and they're just pulling them on to achieve that bias. And this illustration is called solo because it's if you're by yourself. I have seen some of our grandparents' generation tying it on a doorknob and pulling it to achieve that perfect angle, that good stretch, and then they're able to tie it. So that's what that one is.
That's great. Sorry, I think you were going to talk about this next piece, but then I stopped it at that.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay, for sure. Yeah, so this one is kind of fun too. The fabric, I mean, you see people's dastaars can be very bright, and it often tends to be over dyed, which means that when you wash it, the color will run. And so as a preparation, and some people like to starch them as well to give them stiffness. So kind of as a preparation before you tie it for the first time, you take the fabric and you soak it in water, and you can add vinegar and salt to help set the color. And so this one's entitled Over Dyed Solution. So it's just one of those extra things that you get to do.
Excellent. That's wonderful. Yeah, it's a beautiful exhibition to see, and that was just a sneak peek at it. So you can come on into the gallery. We're open Thursdays through Saturday from 12 to 4 in West Vancouver, right along the waterfront, 1570 Argyle Avenue. All that information will be in the description below once this video goes out, once it stops being live, and on our website, westvanartscouncil.ca. So in your work, there's a lot of different types of medium that you're using. You've got paint, you've got ink, you've got the marker, you've got the actual fabric. What inspired you to try all these different mediums to try and express this idea?
Yeah, I think maybe because I personally don't wear the dastaar. Maybe I'm not sure if that's why or what it is, but I felt like to celebrate it, I really had to look at it from different perspectives. Again, there's the word perspectives and drawings and angles, but also just in a more tangible way. So the paintings are meant to kind of convey my admiration of the beauty. And the drawings are there to convey my admiration of the structure and the skill and the effort that's required. The sculptures are to give you that tangible feeling, because they're not to scale perhaps, or just to kind of get an idea how it sits. And the illustrations are mostly for fun, just to kind of, observing things growing up. This is what I've seen. And there's also actually voice recordings of some of the participants. And I asked 2 questions. The first one was, why do you wear this thought? And the second one was to comment on their personal style. And I got some my participants are amazing. They've been so helpful and so supportive. And if you have the opportunity to listen to the recordings, they're just beautiful. I mean, I didn't want to talk about why they wear them because it's not me. I really wanted their own voices to be represented. So I think just to give it sort of a proper celebration is what I was aiming to do. And I'm fortunate to be able to work in different medium. I enjoy working in different kinds of mediums, so I thought, why not?
That's great. Yeah, no, the audio recordings are great, and they will be able to you will be able to hear them as part of the exhibition. And they're pretty fantastic. And I found the audio recordings interesting because it was all women, and honestly, probably coming from a bit of a place of ignorance on my part, it's not necessarily something that those of us who are maybe not in the Sikh community think that women wear dastars. So I thought that was very, very great to hear that perspective.
Yeah, so I've got, I think there is one male as well, just maybe at the very end of the clip. And what I really wanted to show was kind of a difference between perhaps culture and philosophy in a way. So philosophically, or based on mandate, or however you want to think about it, there's no reason why women would not wear them and men would wear them. There's absolutely no reason. So I tried really hard to represent equally both. So I have like my early notes for the show. I had kind of a tally on, okay, how many fronts do I have? How many sides do I have? How many backs? And how many women do I have? And how many men do I have? So it was quite deliberate to be able to represent them as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's to hear their perspectives, it really resonates with someone from, a minority community, I would want to say, because the things that they talk about and the reasons why they wear it as a minority from a minority, it's just and the reverence, like it's very powerful. And when I first heard the first recording that was sent to me, it's hauntingly beautiful just to like sit and just listen to it, and then be able to walk around and see and just hope that I did justice. You just want to be able to do the best you can.
Yeah. Well, I think you've done a pretty good job.
Thank you.
Pretty wonderful group of paintings and drawings and sculpture and sounds. And that seems to be what a lot of people are saying here in the chat. We've got Love Button 1212 says, all the pieces are beautiful, but do you have a favorite or one that speaks to you the most?
Mm-hmm. So it's hard to pick favorites when it comes to art, but I would say that personally, the floral dastaar, I really, really love that one. And of course, you love different portraits for different reasons. So it's hard not to love, for example, the first one I did of my husband, and I called it Muse Views. So it's hard not to love because it's a portrait of the person that you love. But just purely from an aesthetic point of view, I thought the floral print was just so beautiful. It's not as common to find prints. So I also went out of my way to try to find people who wore prints. Just as an artist, it's kind of fun to see them. And so I would probably say the floral print one is possibly my favorite one.
Excellent. Yeah, it's tough when it's kind of like your babies,
Yes.
And again, Abal says, recognizable without a question. Support from your sister there.
Yes.
And Manpreet Dillon says, you can totally tell who everyone is. And they also say, so inspiring.
Awesome.
And what are you hoping the visitors will take away from this exhibit?
Yeah, so I think if they are visitors who maybe haven't seen a lot of the stars in their community, which I feel like in the Lower Mainland is not possible. I'm sure you've seen plenty. Just to kind of think about what it means, the way that I've presented it as a portrait, and the point that I'm making that they're recognizable, and to kind of carry that forward and think about how you look at people and you look at people from different communities. And I mean, it's really easy to stereotype and it's really easy to generalize. I mean, we all do it, of course we do. But to just really think about what is recognizable, what makes someone unique, what are the individual qualities that everybody has. So it's not just people who wear the stars, of course, that are unique and can have this. I mean, I could probably, the extension here is enormous, right? So you could probably do portraits of, I don't know, you could do hairlines, you could do shoulders, you could do the way someone walks. Like there's so many things. And those are just physical things that you look at. But of course, there's personality, everybody, you know, everything. So it's just to maybe carry that forward and think about how you view things in general and people.
Yeah, totally. That's amazing. That's what the best artwork does, really.
Yeah, and also, I mean, in line with the title, think about what would it mean for you yourself to think of yourself as a sovereign, and how would you act as a sovereign, and responsible for your own actions and responsible for your future, and you know, have an impact on your own community, and also to just elevate your thinking. So that's kind of, the title sort of speaks to that as well.
Definitely. Yeah, this title is so layered.
Yeah, it did end up being like a dastaar, which is tied in layers, so it all goes together. The
Totally.
parallels are endless.
Some more comments. The cat says amazing details. Ali Pickett says fantastic work, Kiran.
Thank you.
Chunpreet Sahota says, yay, I love this. Can't wait to see it in person.
Yay.
C. Perez says, very talented and smart artist. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Gurpreet Kaur says, amazing talent, my sister. Very proud of you. And Guntas Kaur, again, I'm so sorry for the pronunciation.
That's okay. Guntas. Yes,
Guntas,
I know her.
thank you.
Yes.
Says, so proud of you as an artist and as an ambassador for the stars and for the Sikh community. All our love.
And she's actually one of the voices that you will hear. So yes.
Excellent.
And she's well represented in the show as well. So I'm sure she'll be hopefully excited to go and pick out her own.
Yeah. Excellent. And then the cat chimes in, says that they're partial to the pink one.
Yes, the pink one is nice as well.
That's lovely. Yeah, no, it's a wonderful, it's been a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
There's been a lot of wonderful sentiments and ideas, and provocative, I think, in the best way. And that's what this show is too. It's very gentle and subtle, but it's also bold and in your face in a gentle way.
Yeah, I feel like it's hopefully representative of my personality. So it's sort of like polite, sure, I'm cordial, I've been told that many times. But also, you know, I've got something to say too. And so I think, yeah, like we were talking about in this climate this year, I think it's such a nice time, such a great time to be exploring these things and pushing ourselves, including ourselves, like as artists, to push ourselves to really dig deep and see where we can go and feel really liberated to do so. I mean, we've always been liberated to do so, but it's just nice to be able to feel like you can talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. To feel like you have that ability and sort of to be able to give yourself that permission
Yes.
to do
Yeah.
so. Yeah. That's great. Well, I think that wraps up any of the questions that I had for you, Karen.
Awesome.
If there's anything else you want to say, some parting words to everyone watching.
Yeah. So when you do go and visit, if you do fall in love with the painting, most of the paintings are promised to the subjects who were so gracious to allow me to photograph them and then ask them for more photos, because when you take it with the cell phone, it kind of bubbles. And, I had to ask them for so many things over and over again. But if anybody would like prints made of anything, if something really speaks to them, just to, let the gallery know, and they can contact me and I'd be happy to make prints.
That's one that's very generous. Yeah.
Of course.
So again, everyone who showed up tonight, thank you so very much for spending this little part of your evening with us and
Yes,
taking this
thank you.
part and asking questions and speaking to our incredibly talented artists that we here at the West Bend Arts Council are so honored and so excited to be able to share this work with our not only North Shore community, but anyone else who wants to make it over the bridges and come see it. So just to remind you all again, the Silk Purse Art Center is the gallery where this exhibit is, 1570 Argyle Avenue in West Vancouver. We're open Thursday through Saturday, 12 to 4. So come on in. Oh, and the show is on until
November 21st?
Yes, thank you. It is on until November 21st. So you have quite a bit of time to come on and see it, and you could even come and see it again multiple times. And yes, Kiran, as you mentioned before, there are COVID health and safety guidelines, so you don't have to worry. We've got it all worked out for you. It's going to be an amazing experience seeing all of this beautiful, wonderful artwork. So we can't wait to see you when you come into the gallery. And Kiran, thank you so very much for sharing your artwork with us and for sharing your inspirations and your process and your thoughts with us this evening.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been great.
Excellent, cool, great. Well, I hope everyone has a great evening for the rest of their night, and hope you all stay safe and healthy and creative and inspired. So take care, everyone.
All right.